welcome to Art High Virtual Edition. My name is Lori. Today we're going to leave all our machines behind and we're going to take a look at the age-old practice of hand-sewn embroidery. I'll go through some of the basic stitches with you and outline some of the projects that are possible. There are many different size needles that you can purchase, but they all have a larger eye than most regular needles. The fabric you'll want to use should have a very obvious weave. Cotton works well. You'll need an embroidery hoop and, of course, embroidery thread. The thread comes in a variety of colors, textures, and quality. Each thread, however, has 6 strands. Depending on your project and your fabric, you'll be dividing your thread into 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 6 strands, whatever is appropriate. To get a pattern, I will provide links to many of the library books that we have that provide them. Transferring your pattern onto your fabric can be done by photocopying, then placing the photocopy onto a light box or even taping it to a window, and then taping your fabric on top of that and tracing with a washable pen or marker. We're ready to set our fabric into the embroidery hoop. The CreateSpace does have embroidery hoops that you can come in and use. Pull your fabric nice and taut. This book is an outstanding book for people getting started in embroidery. They include these plastic grids that you can practice the stitches in. And you can see they have them in geometric shapes to really assist with some of the interesting designs they outline. And I tried to demonstrate the stitches using these grids, however, my embroidery thread under the grid shows almost as well as the thread on top, so it made it very unclear for the purpose of this video. So what I did was photocopy some dot paper to demonstrate the basic stitches that we'll be using. The first stitch is the straight stitch. We'll come up at A, down at B, up at C, and down at D. The next stitch is called the stem stitch. We're going to come up at A, down at D, up at C, down at F, up at E, So for the project I'm working on, I simply put my fabric into the embroidery hoop and drew a pattern that I thought I would be able to use to demonstrate a number of the stitches we're learning. So I used a washable chalk pencil to make, you may not be able to see it very well, a few bulrushes with some leaves. So for this green outline of the leaf, I actually used the stem stitch. This next stitch is called the cross stitch, and you'll notice that above the ABCD, I've also got a 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to come up in the 1, across to the 2, down to the 3, and across to the 4. Now we'll come back up into the E spot, just like before. We'll cross over, down into the upper left corner of the D, to the bottom D corner, and back up to the upper E corner. And here's where I use the cross stitch in the project. The next stitch is the back stitch. We'll come up at A, down at C, up at B, down at D, up at C, down at E. I used this stitch for the black stems. Chain stitch is hard to demonstrate with the paper, but here I came up in C and I'm going back down in C. But you make a loop, it's kind of under my thumb. Make a loop, don't pull it right through. And then I'm going to come back up in D in front, in the center of the loop, and then back down in D to secure that piece of the chain. I used the chain stitch for this leaf and also at the top of this bulrush. Next is the whip stitch. Up in A, go down into A1, come up in B, down into B1. This actually is in preparation for the satin stitch. The satin stitch is what's used to fill in solid pieces of your embroidery, and it's essentially the whip stitch repeated. So in between the two parallel whip stitches, you're going to just do as many other whip stitches that you require in order to cover the surface you're working on. This leaf has the satin stitch on each side in a different color, slanted. The tops of the bulrushes are also the satin stitch, and this is the feathered chain stitch. This is the final project. I did try to incorporate as many of the stitches as I could. This was a pre-drawn picture that I made, but you can download many patterns and copy them for your first project in hand-sewn embroidery. Check the links below for some awesome resources we have at the library for you to begin with hand-sewn embroidery.